There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
Hey, lovely people. Well, I'm really pleased with this review, this very, very positive review of the Canadian gay novel from Montreal. And I was so delighted by the sultry weather today, early May, that I didn't pay so much attention to the fact that the sun was behind me, so it's a little bit whited out, and how noisy the Canada geese were. But I think that all just adds a certain Canadian je ne sais quoi flair to the video. At no time is my voice inaudible. Oh, and one more thing, I was holding the microphone a little too close to my sensuous lips. But other than that, I'm really delighted with it. Please enjoy.
Hello BookTube, I'm Shawn the Book Maniac. Welcome back to my channel. Here I am with a review of a gay Canadian novel published a few years ago. It is called The Geography of Pluto by Christopher DiRaddo. It was originally published in 2014, and this is a reissue from 2021, and the reissue comes from Vehicle Press in Montreal. And I received this finished copy from the publisher in exchange for an honest review, so here I am with that honest review, and I hope that Vehicle Press, among others, will be delighted to hear how delighted I was by The Geography of Pluto. The first thing is for me to admit that I am really stupid about temporal settings, so I'm not sure when it was set, but it was set around the time that Pluto was downgraded from a planet to whatever it was downgraded to. So when was that? About 10 years ago? 15 years ago? That's when it was set. If you hear geese honking, it's because I live in Canada. But I think with the mic, it should be okay. And I'm still not sure where to look because I'm filming this on my iPad. Forgive me if my eyes look funny because I'm not looking. My eyes also might be distracted if a cute boy walks by. But anyway, getting back to the book. So it's set close to the present in Montreal, and Will, our protagonist, is a high school geography teacher, and he's about 27. And a month or so before this, his boyfriend of a year or two, I forget how long they were together, but something like that, a couple of years, dumped him and broke his heart because he thought they would be together for life. He was raised by a single mother. His dad died when he was an infant, and his mother and he are close, but she's not comfortable with his gayness. And I grew up knowing a lot of gay men who had that kind of a connection with their mother. They still were close, but they just couldn't talk about gay stuff, and that sucks. His best friend is a lesbian, and that's Angie. Max is the ex, so those are the main characters. And in the novel, we see Will struggling to kind of heal from the relationship and to find his footing again as a single gay man in Montreal. And it reminds me of lots of other gay novels I've read, and this one stands out as going really deep into the gay male experience of clubbing and sex and dealing with exes and chronicling self-defeating behaviors and celebrating queer as F, sexually liberated ways of being in the world, and a lot of heavy drinking and a lot of emotional confusion. This was wonderful, and one of the things that was so remarkable about this debut novel is that the writing is so plain. I'm going to read you the first page, and you're probably going to agree with me. Like, there's nothing ornate or musical about the prose, but I guess the adjective would be workmanlike prose, and that is a deceptive simplicity indeed, because the story sneaks up on you with the depth at which it's narrated. As you're going to see in the excerpt, first person narrative, then I did this, then I did that, then I did this, and then I thought this, and that just builds to something that's really quite powerful. I love this novel because I related to it so much. So again, it's always interesting to think, would somebody who didn't live the life that the protagonist and I led, things overlapped in our histories, would they relate to it? That's an open question. But I really went deep in my reading of this, cringing at the superficial, emotionally self-defeating mistakes he would make sexually, or with how much he would drink, or what he'd, there was one guy that was really interested in him, and he kept throwing the guy's number away, and I think it was because he wasn't emotionally ready to get into a serious relationship, but it was just like, oh, don't throw his number away a second time, a third time, what are you doing? The relationship between him and his mother is really touching. I'm not going to say anything that happens. Well, I guess it's on the back that she nearly dies of cancer early in the novel. So that's all I'll say. And that brings them closer together. And in fact, he comes out to her in the hospital. But then they never really talk about it again for a long time anyway. He eventually tries to get back together with Max, and you'll have to read how that went. And he's got this really close, imperfect friendship with his bestie, Angie, who's a lesbian, and she is falling in love and breaking up and rebounding on a 2-week cycle. And he's, they're kind of like apples and oranges in that way, and they have a wonderful friendship. It's also, I don't know, Montreal. I've only been there once for a weekend, for a conference, so I don't know the city at all, but it's quite vividly portrayed here. I was just struck by the emotional power of a story that was so simply told, that others have told book after book after book, but this one is something special. It's not perfect, it's a debut. There were some things, not plot twists, but just some things that were thrown in at the end that I thought didn't need to be thrown in, and there was some maybe experiments with jumping around in the story that didn't land for me. Even the whole thing, the metaphor about Pluto, I didn't really need any of that, but that didn't detract from how much I love this book. I love this book in a 5-star way. Also, there was some explicit sex scenes that I thought didn't need to be explicit or weren't particularly well written, so probably could have been, 80% shorter and would have had carried more emotional, had worked better. But some of the sex writing was actually quite wonderful. So that part was kind of up and down. So yeah, it's not perfect, but it's pretty impressive. And I haven't been able to stop thinking about these characters since I finished it a couple weeks ago. So I'm just going to read you the first page. See how you like it. I shook the snow from my shoulders and walked into my apartment, throwing my keys onto the table as I closed the door. I could already hear the next day's hangover in the darkness. Steadying myself against the wall, I undid my laces and removed my boots with the sides of my feet. I tossed both boots onto the mat in the corner, but then stepped into a puddle by the door. Shit, I muttered, jumping away from the wet spot. I flipped on the lights overhead, locked the door, and pulled the offending sock from my foot. I walked down the hallway, turning on more lights as I went. The apartment was exactly how I had left it earlier that evening, everything tidy and in its place. The shower curtain was pulled out over the tub, the kitchen sink empty of dishes that were now stacked neatly in wooden cupboards. I had dusted, quickly vacuumed, and changed the bed sheets before leaving. I knew I was being excessive. I hadn't planned on returning home with someone, but then who plans that sort of thing? I figured, though, I might as well be prepared. Just because I was a mess didn't mean my place had to be. There was a flashing red light on the phone in the kitchen. 2 messages. Hi, Will, the first one crackled. It was my mom. Just checking in. I don't remember what you were doing tonight. I could hear her running a list in her head. It's nothing important. You can call me tomorrow. Goodbye, she added stiffly, signing off as if sending a signal into space. Delete. Next message. Hey there, Tiger, a voice sang with a jovial drunkenness I recognized well. It was Angie. Belated Merry Christmas! I meant to call you the other day, but it's been crazy here. I wish you had come. New York is such a blast. Anyway, it looks like we'll be back in Montreal on the 4th, so we'll do dinner or something, and I'll tell you all about it. Maybe I'll give you a shout tomorrow, or you can call me here at Nancy's. You've got the number. Take care, babe, and be sure to wish your mom a Merry Christmas for me. Happy New Year. I erased the second message. It was 11:15 p.m. I picked up the phone and dialed. So, that gives you a little taste of the prose. I also have a review copy of Christopher DiRaddo's second novel. I don't remember the title of it. Let's see, is it here? Yes. It is called The Family Way, and I will be reading it probably next month for Pride Month. Looking forward to that, and do check out this novel. It's really good. Thanks for watching.